been a hot second since we've done one of these, but I think it's appropriate now that we have 2 DLC characters on the way. It's also hard to believe that E3 was well over a month ago, but time flies when you're waiting for Banjo to join Smash, I guess. In just a couple weeks, we'll likely get the next DLC character, which is the hero, added to the roster. That's such an odd choice for a name, though. I get they're generic, but couldn't we have done better than that? I Main the Hero just sounds so strange. But regardless, the character himself looks fun to play as. And then we have Banjo, the reveal that nearly won E3 in itself. Who will be joining the Smash roster this fall? I'd guess sometime around October if I had to really narrow it down. And maybe it's a little bit early, but that leaves us with 2 more character slots. And prior to the announcements of the hero and Banjo, Nintendo's motives were in question with Smash's DLC because we didn't know if they were just going to be plugging new games or if we would be getting long-requested characters, but it seems to be a little of both, and honestly, I'm cool with that. Let's not jump the ship and say there's no new Banjo game on the way because there was that mysterious listing on Amazon Germany for a Banjo-Kazooie Switch, but that's really all we have to go off of right now. And we're going to discuss the potential for DLC number 4, but before we do, let me know down in the comment section who you want the next DLC character to be. When Smash Ultimate was first announced, one of the first characters I blurted out that I predicted would be joining the roster was Crash Bandicoot. It's been well over a year since I made that prediction, but I'm going to stick by it. And you can file Crash into the same group as Mario, DK, and Banjo because he's an icon with numerous games, some of which have been on Nintendo consoles, so he's not completely foreign to it. The Crash Insane Trilogy announcement a couple years back was extremely hype, and the Switch version went on to become one of the fastest selling games of 2018. In fact, Crash coming back to a Nintendo console was a big deal. Now let's look at the logistics of this. Crash is currently owned by Activision, which is a subsidiary of Activision Blizzard. Nintendo has recently worked with Blizzard to get Diablo 3 on the Switch, so the groundwork has already been laid out. On top of that, we've seen 2 Crash games on the Switch in the last couple years, both of which have sold significantly well. You hear that, Nintendo? It makes sense. Now give us Crash so I could just main all the anthropomorphic animals. Crash also has incredible potential in a moveset that could span throwing Wumpa fruits, sliding, spinning, and using Aku as some kind of shield or counter. Crash also has a model that's already updated for his recent remakes, so reimagining a character model from scratch is already taken care of. It's almost like Crash was meant to be in Smash Ultimate. And I can see Crash being put off to the final DLC, but I think he has a good shot. Next up we have Spyro, and this is the exact same scenario as Crash, but I can't bring up Crash without bringing up Spyro because it might rustle some jimmies. And if it came down to a Sophie's choice, it's going to be Crash 9 times out of 10. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. Spyro's moveset is a little more basic. You can headbutt things, you can breathe fire, and that's pretty much it. I've seen the argument for Spyro as an alt, but that doesn't make any sense. He's a completely separate character, and I don't have anything against Spyro, but I think if it just came down to a choice between the two, Spyro takes a backseat to Crash. And let me know what you think in the comment section below. Are you more of a Crash or Spyro person, and who would you rather see? Then we have Shantae, who honestly I'm not too familiar with, but I've only heard great things about her games. I also understand she is a spirit, but we're going to go ahead and ignore these made-up rules that we somehow decided are the official guidelines for who Nintendo is going to let into their game. And adding Shantae to the roster would tick a couple boxes. Number 1, adding a female character as DLC, which I do think we'll see at least one of the 5 character slots being a female. 2, she would bring an interesting art style to the game. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but Shantae is a 2D character and has no existent 3D model readily available, which means they would have to either create one or they could somehow work a 2D cartoony model into the game, which I think would be pretty cool. And number 3, I don't know anything outside of watching a few minutes of gameplay, but I'm pretty sure there's enough moves for multiple movesets. Shantae would also be the first playable indie rep to make it into Smash, and it should have been Shovel Knight, but he was reduced to an assist trophy, and I really don't want to talk about the window that looks like the Smash logo because it's such low-hanging fruit. I do think it was just a coincidence, but We will jump at the opportunity to speculate on the dumbest things. Remember when Skull Kid was predicted because Sakurai had 2 chairs behind him? Yeah, I was on that bandwagon. Shut up. I learned my lesson, though. However, the window is a coincidence, and if it's not, forget I even said anything, and I predicted this all along. Next up, we have Scorpion. Yes, we know Mortal Kombat is incredibly violent, but previous quote-unquote mature newcomers have been toned down to be added to Smash. Look at Snake and Bayonetta, for example. Hell, even look at Joker, who is now wielding the Forbidden Gun. Scorpion is also an iconic character from a more iconic franchise, which is also a fighting game. Remove the blood and fatalities and give Scorpion a final smash similar to Bowser and Charizard's Neutral B, but, you know, on a much bigger scale. I also think it would be cool to have another character who can benefit from using traditional inputs, but on the other hand, it may be too similar to Ryu and Ken. Next up, we have Goku. I'm just kidding. Nintendo could also throw in characters from upcoming games. There's a lot of promo right now for Astral Chain, which looks like a futuristic Persona. I do want to mention that with the 3 revealed DLC characters, Nintendo is staying true to adding only characters from unrepresented franchises. So that's going to disqualify characters like Waluigi, Bandana D, and anyone else that might fall under that category. If we're being honest, these 2 characters are infinitely harder to predict because the hero and Banjo felt like such a guarantee. Other notable mentions are Ryu, the other Ryu, you know, from Ninja Gaiden, and Heihachi from Tekken. And now that Banjo has made the cut, I really think that kills any chances that Master Chief or Minecraft Steve may have had, because for Microsoft, it was going to come down to one of those 3. Square getting a Dragon Quest rep also kills the possibility for Sora, because I would imagine that Nintendo wouldn't tap the same third party twice for DLC. Then there's characters like the Doomslayer and Dragonborn, but I just don't think they're iconic enough. Doom is an FPS. We have no attachment to the Doomslayer, or Doom Marine, or whatever else you want to call him, because he's just a generic character. The same really goes for the Dragonborn, but somehow people are still requesting them. Then again, the hero is technically a generic character, so maybe my argument is invalid, but Dragon Quest is a gaming pillar that invented the JRPG, so it has a leg up there. A lot of my thought process comes from which companies have a good relationship with Nintendo, because there's also Ubisoft, and if they wanted to throw in Rayman or the Rabbids in there, and Rayman would be an excellent choice. Another platforming icon who has recently appeared in Brawlhalla, so Ubi's not shy of sticking him in a fighting game. Sans is another indie character that I've seen requested a lot, and Undertale has exponentially grown in popularity since its release, so it's definitely possible. But does Sans have enough skin in the game? Get it? Because he has no skin, because he's a skeleton? Yeah, that's the joke. Similar to Shantae, I also know nothing about Sans or Undertale simply because I haven't gotten around to playing it yet, but I'm sure it's great. I can't vouch for a moveset with Sans, but I'm sure there's potential to bring something unique to the table. And speaking of unique, all 3 DLC characters have their own unique mechanic. Joker has the Rebellion meter, the hero is going to have a spell menu, and Banjo and Kazooie have their golden feathers. I don't know if this is something that will continue to carry through the next 2 DLC characters, but it makes you think. Also, it's nice to see that Nintendo is not afraid to attempt to increase character depth. So what are my exact predictions? It's a bit tough to say. I think there's a lot of possibilities given the number of companies that Nintendo can reach out to, but I think Crash's odds are really good, and everything seems to line up for him making the cut. Ubisoft and Nintendo have a great relationship, so I think there's a chance to see Rayman there as well, or the Rabbids, but it would be a great injustice for those mutants to make it over Rayman. Heihachi is also an option because Bandai Namco are co-developers on the game, and he's the face of Tekken. And lastly, I know Shantae would make a lot of people happy, and I'm all about that, but I know there are some signs pointing to a deconfirmation of Shantae, so it's tough to say. But then again, we don't know if Nintendo has any set rules, or if there are any rules to even break. I mean, I've gotten every character that I could want in Smash. Well, almost every character. So I want other people to be happy. With that being said, feel free to jump in the discussion down in the comment section and let me know who are your final DLC predictions. It's funny to think in just 6 short months, all of the speculating will finally be put to rest and we'll know the entire roster. until Nintendo announces the Season 2 pass because they love money, and they can easily capitalize on an Echo Fighter pass if they wanted to. Until then, let Sakurai go on vacation so he can recuperate and prepare to jump back into it. If you enjoyed this video, go physically like it. Please, I need this more than the air I breathe. New viewers, I welcome you to subscribe as well, if you dare. And that's it. Thanks for watching.